What's going on, guys? Ants Trades back again. I know I said I was only going to make the one video, but the feedback I got was awesome on the first video. Of course, with the exception of a few Citadel coffee boys talking shit in the comments for no reason. Yeah, you guys, the feedback I got was very positive for the most part, and you guys were requesting more content, so here we are. I just want to take this time to thank everyone for the subs, for for the views, everything. I mean, I was only expecting to get 4 views on my first video, and this was never about the views for me anyway. I never even thought about making a YouTube channel. I don't even use social media for the most part. So I just wanted to share my ideas, where I see this going, and my ideas on the chart and the price action. So I have a lot to talk about in this video. I'm going to try to keep it as concise as I possibly can, but it might end up being lengthy. And one last thing I want to say before I jump into this is if you haven't already, I seriously suggest that you watch my first video, as I think it will paint a much clearer picture for you. Now, let's jump into the video. So, this week's price action was pretty much what I expected, with the exception of breaking the wedge. This is in my way. I can't move it. Alright, that's fine. Now, I predicted that we would come up to the top of the wedge around $7, and I made a very bold prediction saying that we would break the wedge maybe. We didn't end up breaking the wedge, but we did come up to the top of the wedge around 656, I think was the top, and got rejected off. It's not the end of the world. I still think we're going to break the wedge. I think we're going to break the wedge on Monday. Actually, I think we're going to break the wedge on Monday next week, and I'll explain why later. Total move, I can't pull up the tool right now because my recorder's in the way, but the total move from my first video until today's close was about 9%. And yeah, so let's, before I actually jump into this video, because I know there's some people that might be watching this for the first time that don't want to watch the first video, which I seriously suggest that you do. I just want to throw the bars pattern up again and explain why I think we're going to squeeze within the next probably week. I'm gonna talk more about that and the possible scenarios, but I think we are going to break this wedge on Monday next week, and if we do break and close above this wedge, I think we're going to squeeze next week as well. I think we will see all-time highs next week. Do not hold me to that. It could be first week, second week, February. Like I said in my first video, I don't want people, going crazy in the comments saying you said all-time highs this week and then we didn't get it. I'm saying if we break this wedge and close above, I think we are going to squeeze. I don't know how long that's going to take to reach all-time highs. It's probably not going to take that long, in my opinion, because we are following this fractal perfectly. Not candle for candle exact, like I said, but it's there. And if you look, you can look for yourself on TradingView. If you pull up a bars pattern of these 3 segments right here and overlay it, it's extremely similar. The movement is very, very similar that you get here, and where we are in the fractal is I think right here actually. So I don't really see any more downside. Again, don't hold me to that, but I think we are not going to see any more downside. Yeah, I'm not going to go crazy into the fractals again, not right now. So I'm just going to take these off, and I found something that I thought was very significant, and I would have never guessed. This past week, I'm very excited. I was just looking around at the chart, trying to kill time, and I love looking at this chart. This is probably my favorite chart ever. So, anyways, going into the historical price action of AMC, I drew this trend line. And I didn't really expect to find anything here, but I actually ended up finding something very significant, and it pretty much confirms my thesis that AMC trades on a 3-year cycle, and I don't want to go so far as to say it confirms my thesis that we're squeezing next week, but it kind of does. Again, don't hold me to that. I'm just going to show you guys my thought process and my reasoning here. So I draw this trend line, right? And I'm not expecting to find anything, but I start looking at dates. And this trend line is from January 2017. And then you come down to January 2020, which is 3 years. And this is bearish price action for 3 years. You know, this is bear flag. This is a bear flag. You know, you come down sideways, you know, tilt it up on a little bit, come down again. This is a bear flag over and over and over until you come to January 2020 where you get a cycle reset. You flatten out and then you get some bullish price action to the upside. Now, before everyone starts saying, oh, but, you know, since June, we've just been going lower and lower, this is a descending wedge, which is bullish, which I also think we're breaking out of very soon. Anyways, come to come to the IPO of AMC, and you know, I'm all the way back now. This is 2014, January 2014. It's actually December. We'll just say January for the sake of argument. January 2014. 3 years later, January 2017. 3 years. IPOs at 11.56. January 2017 now, you're trading at 21 and change, you know, roughly $22, which is an 100% move from IPO. That is bullish price action. And then you have bearish for 3 years, and then you have bullish for 3 years. Now, that's not even the crazy part. This is something that actually blew my fucking mind, and I think it's going to blow your guys' mind too. So, as this trend line, you know, as we like trade down this trend line, right, and the cycle resets, you are coming over the 3 fractals here, right? Now, just the same way this trend line is here. You're passing over the 3 fractal segment that I talked about all last video. You're passing over it here as well. Now, let me zoom in here and show you guys the first segment of the fractal, which is the green one here. You know, you got this W action, and then as the green fractal transitions into the red, you don't quite touch the trend line, but you come pretty close. Again, as the green transitions into the red, you don't touch it, but you come close. Let's come over here and see what happens here. All right, descending trend line. As the green transitions into the red, you come up to the top, not quite touching the trend line, but almost there. All right, that's that. Let's go back over here again. Now, as the red transitions into the blue, you have multiple touch points, and actually, you don't break it, but you wick above. Okay, let's come back over here. What do we have over here? As the red transitions into the blue fractal, you touch multiple times. I mean, there's a little tiny wick above. You're not really breaking it, you're just wicking above, but you have multiple touch points on the trend. So that is the first touch on the trend that we get. Also the first one as you overpass these 3 fractals. Now into the blue fractal here, you know, you wick over, come down, and then you have this W that I was talking about in the last video, and you touch the trend line again. Let's come back over here. You have this W that I was talking about last time. I mean, you don't really touch it. It's close. I mean, my trend line could be off a little bit. It's probably not perfect anyway, but it's very close. So 1, 2 touch points. 1, 2 touch points. Then you find your absolute low, which this is the absolute low of AMC since IPO. Bottom out, and then you start gapping up a little bit, and then you touch the trend line again for the 3rd time and get rejected. Come down a little bit, you know, retrace a little bit, and the 4th time you break through and squeeze. So let me just show you over here, because you have the, believe it or not, the exact same thing. You come up again, you know, you find your bottom. After your 2 touch points, you come up again, and you hit the trend line for the 3rd time, get rejected off of it, and retrace. Now, the next time that we touch this trend line, we're breaking out of it. That's my opinion. let me just say this now because I forgot to mention this in the intro. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Do not make reckless financial decisions based on what I'm saying. I'm sharing my opinion, my ideas, what I'm seeing with the fractals, what I'm seeing with the stock and the price action. I'm just sharing it with you. Do not buy YOLO calls that expire next week and then be in my comments telling me that I lost you a bunch of money. Anyways, so yeah, that is, I don't find that coincidental. There's no way that could possibly be coincidence. 1, 2, 3, retrace, breakout. 1, 2, 3, retrace. I think we're breaking out Monday. I think we're breaking out of this wedge Monday. Maybe it could be Tuesday. If we do break out and close above this wedge Monday or Tuesday, the squeeze is starting. In my opinion, the squeeze is going to start. We could see, if we do break and close above this wedge on Monday next week, we could see all-time highs next week. Don't hold me to that. You know, I said in my first video, it could be first week, second week, February. I'm leaning towards next week, especially if we break and close above the wedge on Monday. Now, that's that. I thought that was pretty crazy. I mean, you guys probably do too. There's no possible way that could be coincidence, how these fractals are the exact same, and as your descending resistance passes them, you hit them in the exact same spots leading up to what is the squeeze here and about to, in my opinion, squeeze here. So that's that. What else did I want to talk about? Let's go into, what did I do? Let's go into we could start with the 1 hour. Let's do the 1 hour. This is pre-January squeeze. We'll start with this. I just want to show you guys the similarities here and where I think we are. So I'll just start with this. I'll go into the daily after. All right. Pre-January is on the left. Excuse me. Present day on the right. So you find your bottom here, gap up, hit the wedge. Right? Find your bottom, gap up, hit the wedge. We hit the wedge over here too. The 1 hour, the trend lines get messed up sometimes, but we did hit the wedge. This wedge should be here. I don't know why TradingView does that, but this, we actually did touch this like we did here. So hit the wedge, get rejected. Same as pre-January squeeze. Hit the wedge, get rejected. And then you have this action here. Now, you have it's like more or less a W here, you know, which is kind of what is playing out over here. I think if you want my opinion where I think we are exactly, I think this candle here is where we are. I think on Monday we're going to see in pre-market we're going to see a gap down. We're going to see a gap down probably to, maybe we come to the bottom that we have here, 527. I think more likely than not it's going to be around like 530, 540-ish. Probably 530, 535, I would say. We're going to gap down, and I think on Monday this is the price action we're going to get. I think we're going to break out of the wedge and close above it on Monday. That's on the 1 hour. On the daily, we can look here. Let me just switch this to daily as well. I didn't love the price action yesterday. You know, I was kind of hoping this week would be the week that we break and close above the wedge. We didn't end up getting that. But, yeah, I didn't love the price action. I thought there was still maybe a possibility, and I'm going to show you why. So, here we are. So, you gap up here, same way you do here. And the candles even look very similar, too. If you look at them, they're like almost the same. Gap up, you don't quite touch the wedge, you know, but that's the candle here, is this candle here. Then you have the very next day, you have this candle here where, I mean, this trend line could be off too, but you touch the wedge here, and we have the same thing here, and you get rejected. And pre-January, you have this little dragonfly doji candle here. Yesterday, this was our candle. I didn't love it. And I was actually talking to some of the guys in Discord. Shout out Super Steven and all the guys in his Discord. We've been talking about TA and trying to figure out exactly where we are. And I mean, I think this is where we are. I think the algorithm slowed down a little bit. Um, a lot of calls expired out of the money this week, which isn't the best thing in the world, but it's also not the worst. 750 was max pain this week, so knowing that, I was like, all right, we have this little candle here. Maybe tomorrow we get this candle and we break and close above the wedge, somewhere closer to 750, which was max pain. We didn't end up getting that, and that's completely fine because I still think on Monday we are going to have that candle where we break and close above. So no worries there. Some people are getting worried. So this is a gravestone doji, but I'm honestly not worried about that. I know it's a bearish candle, but if the gravestone doji was up here at the top of this move, then I would be a little bit worried. I would say maybe we're going to come back down to the bottom of the trend line. I do not think that's going to happen. I think that we are breaking out of this trend line next week. So that's that. I can get this out of the way. And let me just show you guys something else. So as far as price targets, if we do end up breaking out of this wedge, which I really think we will, a lot of you guys were asking questions about that, where my 145 is coming from. So I'm just going to show you guys right now. And I actually forgot, I in my last video, I left out the fib extension here. So I'm just going to pull that up. Now, this is the January squeeze. So I took it from the bottom here to the top of the move, which is right here on your red candle. Red fractal, and to the absolute low AMC has ever seen. And the January squeeze comes up halfway in between the 2618 and the 3618. That's the squeeze that you get here. I just want to clarify this for everyone because I was getting a lot of questions about my price target, and yeah, so I just wanted to show this. So that's January, and then you have June, which is from, again, this bottom here to the top of January move, back down to the bottom when the buy button was taken away. This time you come up to the 3618 almost on the dot. So, I mean, history usually repeats. So that's where my price target is coming for the next leg up. I'm taking it from the fib extension from right here to the top of the June move to the absolute low that we have seen in this cycle. Sorry, not this cycle. In this wedge, which I believe is the bottom. I think the bottom's in, and we're about to break out. So, if you look at this price target, I know I said 145 in my first video. 3618 is 145.72. 2618. I mean, this is probably good information to know. The 2618 is 106.50 approximately. So on the conservative side, I would say $106. You could also probably conservatively say 125, somewhere right in the middle of the 2618 and 3618. There's just a lot of tension in this wedge. I think this thing is blasting up to the 3618. So that's where my price target comes from. I just wanted to clarify that to everyone. It would safer option, sell 120. I'm talking about calls, shit, not shares. Yeah, we're gonna leg up, and my price target's 145, but it's not done. This thing is gonna keep going. This cycle, I think, is gonna keep repeating on a loop. So I'm talking about if you're holding options, which I am, as well as my shares, my price target is going to be probably somewhere in between 130 and 150. That's going to be where I'm going to be looking to exit my contracts. Shares will be held indefinitely until I see fit. I'm not going to start throwing around outrageous numbers, but the number in my head is pretty outrageous, so I'll just leave it at that. All right. Um, what else did I want to talk about? Um, exit strategy. This is probably something that I should talk about because my pullout game usually sucks. So this time I'm prepared and I brought protection. So we're gonna talk about exit strategy on this next leg up. And let me actually show you guys something that is, I think, very significant when it comes to exiting during this next leg up. Let me get the object tree out of the way, pull this up full screen, and all right. What is this? Get out of my way. I'm trying to draw a horizontal line here. I'm struggling because of this. Collapse. That's not what I wanted. Okay, that's very annoying. I'm really not going to be able to draw the line. All right, fair enough. Anyways, if you look at the previous two squeezes that we've had, the January move here and the June move here, and this is just historical RSI on the stock. These two squeezes topped out at about 96. Almost the same. It's almost the same on both squeezes. You come up to 96, and that's where you find your top. I think that's pretty good information to know. I think that if we break out of this wedge and we do end up squeezing and legging up, that is probably a good point to exit. If you see the RSI up here in this range, that's probably an indication that the run is over or close to over. So that's that. I also wanted to talk about Bollinger Bands, and this was actually brought to my attention by Mediocre Trades. So shout out to him. I was talking to him in Discord a little bit, and he showed me this, and this was something I wasn't aware of. So the first two squeezes, we'll just start with the January. When you squeeze in January, you come above the Bollinger Bands, and you have multiple opportunities to sell at or near the top. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 candles that break above the top Bollinger Band, and 4 opportunities to sell at or near the top here. That's January, and now let's come look at June. One, two, three, 4. Now these are just wicks, but still opportunities to sell very close to the top of the move. I mean, of course, you could have sold here, but this is just safer. If you see the price action breaking out of, if you see the RSI at 95, 96, and breaking out of the top of the Bollinger Bands, that's probably an indication that the run is over or close to over. And it doesn't end there. You come up to our fractals over here, and you get the same type of situation where you have 1, 2, 3 candles that are above that you could have exited here and sold the top, not your shares, because you should never sell your shares. Right here, 3 candles, and then again here, 1, 2, that's pretty close, 3, 4, 5 opportunities to sell the top here on this run up here to the top of the wedge. And yeah, so that's that. Let me get that off the screen. And let me just, I think that was it. I think I covered everything I want to cover. I talked about how I showed the candles, how similar they are. I pretty much touched on everything I wanted to speak about in this video. I mean, the real excitement I think is going to start next week. I think it's time. Um, could we see downside? I doubt it. I'm just gonna say I doubt it. I don't think we're coming back to the bottom of this the wedge here. I think on Monday, conservatively, I'll say Tuesday, but I think on Monday we are going to get this this type of candle here, where you break and close above the wedge. That is my prediction for next week. I think we're going to break and close above this wedge, and if we do, we are going to see some major upside in this stock. When you do break and close above the wedge, and I talked about my last video how these fractals are lining up almost perfectly to each other, the pre-January squeeze and these three, leading up to present day. When you get this candle here that breaks and closes above the wedge, you have 3 candles. That is the January squeeze. And excuse me. I was getting a lot of people in the comments saying that, oh, so since when the stocks close at $9 and gap up to 145? Which, I mean, you're right, I get it, but since when do stocks close at 3 and gap up to 12? I mean, this was 20 before the ape dividend. When did this move didn't make any sense. It was, you have a downtrend, you have bearish price action, you break the downtrend, 1, 2, 3 candles, and you hit your top. I think that's what we're going to get over here. I mean, this squeeze, this next leg up here, I don't think it's going to make any sense. I think we're going to, I mean, obviously you're breaking the wedge, so you're going to get some upside, but I think it's going to be very fast. I think it's going to be, you break and close above, and then you have gaps. Gap candle, all-time high. Don't hold me to that. Obviously, you can play different. I'm not some kind of financial guru or a wizard and can tell you the exact day and that this thing is going to hit its all-time high. I'm just saying that these 3 fractals are lining up almost perfectly with these, and this wedge, which is peak June, peak January to a point, is running out of space. This thing is about to break out, and I think it's going to play out like January. I think we're going to break out, close above, and we're going to see gap, all-time high. Something to that effect. Like I said in my first video, I just want to say this again. It could be dragged out. It could, maybe and this, I don't see this happening. I'm just saying it because it's possible. I mean, the algorithm slowed down a little bit these past 2 days. Maybe it was to collect premium, call premium. Max Payne was 750. I thought we would have closed somewhere closer to that, and we ended up not. Maybe the algorithm slows down. I don't think it happens. I don't think it happens. If you look, and I already showed the 1 hour, comparing them. When you came up to the top of the wedge and got rejected, you came back down and you found support right here. And you bounced back up, right? I think we're going to come back down to the support again on Monday. It's going to be a gap down early on in the morning, and we're breaking out. Obviously, this can be slowed down. Maybe we trade sideways on Monday. I doubt it, but it's possible. Maybe we come back down to 480. I honestly doubt that too. I think the more likely scenario is we're breaking out on Monday. But, this is the stock market. Nothing is guaranteed. but this fractal has been repeating itself over here almost perfectly, which tells me that we are breaking out very soon. So I think I covered everything. Conservatively, I would say all-time highs by the end of the month. Sorry, not the end of the month. Best case scenario, the more likely scenario, what I see happening is all-time highs by end of the month. Again, it could go first week, second week, mid-February range. I just don't see that happening. And I just want to say again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a guru. I'm just a regular guy who's been studying this chart. This is pattern analysis, pattern recognition. That's all it is. And it's playing out perfectly and everything's lining up. So I just see this thing squeezing very soon. Please do not make reckless financial decisions based on my videos. Do not buy YOLO calls for next week. If you have money that you can afford to lose and you want to buy some calls for next week, I would recommend it. I'm going to. But do not gamble money that you cannot afford to lose, because that's what options trading is. It's gambling. Shares are safer. I honestly think the bottom is in. I think shares are very safe right now to buy. You're pretty much buying the bottom, in my opinion. So, again, not a financial advisor, not financial advice. So I covered everything I wanted to talk about. I think next week is going to be very, very exciting for all of us. So, besides the Bears that are here for no reason, hating. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So that's it. Everyone have a good weekend, and see you guys next week.